Okay, so this is the first video diary for BraaiPolar, and the reason that we're doing this video diary is so that you, the people watching on our YouTube channel, can get more of an inside view as to why BraaiPolar, firstly, more of an inside view as to what is bipolar, and so that you can just see I'm just a normal guy trying to achieve something enormous. Trying to make a difference and trying to create an awareness by braaiing for bipolar. Now, how this all came about, we have to kind of start at the beginning, is I was diagnosed with bipolar, hypomanic bipolar, about 4 years ago. And it was after a lifelong battle, I can really say, of living with this condition. Now, to understand what bipolar is, firstly, the scientific part of it is that you have a serotonin imbalance in your lobes, basically. And it's almost like oil inside a car. If you don't have the oil, it runs dry and it misfires. And it's kind of the same thing with bipolar. Now, what happens with bipolar is that you have a serotonin imbalance, a lack of serotonin. And the serotonin, what happens is you have these two lobes of your brain, and you have hundreds of thousands of little receptacles on each lobe. And what they do is they send across a little current. And with bipolar, because of the lack of serotonin, or that imbalance, they tend to loop back. And first and foremost, you need to kind of try and repair your serotonin levels. Now, serotonin is something that isn't reproduced by the body. There's no pill that you can take to give you a serotonin boost, but there is medication out there which helps you to sort of regenerate the little receptacles and retrain them. And it's almost, I compare it to the bath water effect. So what happens when you get into the bath, the water's raised, depending on how big you are, of course. And when you get out, the water level drops, with me, considerably. But with your serotonin rebalancing or retraining, your medication lifts that serotonin level, and then your little receptacles start firing across, and eventually they get trained to keep going on their own. And it really is a trial and error with various medications having different effects on people. Now, to come about BraaiPolar, I have to tell you now, I've been through quite a slog in my life. A person with bipolar is completely irrational. There's just so many signs for bipolar. Other than being irrational, you start an argument with your wife for no reason, or your husband for that matter, and you kind of just lose track of everything that you are. To put in a nutshell what I would be feeling, and I think in the last couple of months since putting together this event, BraaiPolar, I've told a good few dozen people. To me, if you take every emotion you've ever felt, love, hate, happy, sad, and every opposite of that, and you times that by about 10, that's kind of what I would feel like all at once. Really scary, sends you running for the hills, literally. I would start an argument with my wife and just hit the road, and 3-4 days later, you kind of sitting there going, wow, what just happened there? I mean, I'm sure I wasn't at fault. When you get back home and you hear the story of Richard, geez, you won't believe, you did this and that, and I'd be sitting there going, there's no way, that can't be me, I don't remember that. But that really is typically what bipolar is all about. Now, my wife, unbeknownst to me at the time, said a prayer. She witnessed a miracle as a child, and she said a prayer asking God to heal my bipolar, to fix me. And she hadn't told me about this for about, I think it was almost a month or so, or more, after I'd found out. And the medication is quite expensive, and we're just a normal average family. You work hard, and we had to do a bit of a compromise, and I started slowing down my medication. I was on 2 types of pills. The one was in the daytime just to calm me down. I'm hypomanic bipolar, which is on the top end, and you always just want to go, you want to go, you want to go, and you come up with these ridiculous ideas, this not being one of them. But you just come up with these mad plans, and you always just, you're just going, and you always want to be on that high. And just, on that, I mean, with bipolar, you always turn to alcohol, you turn to drugs. And just saying that, I mean, 80% of bipolar, if not treated correctly, if not medication administered correctly, and if not really just caught in time and dealt with, ends in suicide, which is a very real fact. 80%. I can tell you now that 1 in 5 people watching this right now, lives are affected by bipolar, either directly or indirectly. You'll probably find that something like HIV affects 1 in 20, 1 in 25 people. But there's nothing being done for bipolar. There's a hotline for everything. There's a hotline for obesity. There's a hotline for anorexics. There's a hotline for kleptomaniacs. But absolutely nothing for bipolar. Now, how I found out I had bipolar, I had a huge fight with my wife. Went to work, I moved out and moved into this little room across the road from my work at the time. And my wife came to my work the one day and just said, Richard, I love you very much, but I can't deal with this. And that really crushed me. And I have to tell you, I was on the brink of finding a cliff, or a very big tree, which was a very scary reality, because of the bipolar. And it just triggered something in me that I went on this mission to go and discover what's going on. Even as a child, I mean, geez, I'd run away from home, run away from boarding school. I'd be great one term, a B plus student, and the next term fail it, just because I didn't feel like it, and it's completely, like I said, completely irrational. And I needed to figure out, and I needed to get some answers. So almost 7,000 Rand later in a week, going from doctor to doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, you name it, I was there. The one guy that I went to was charging me 2,200 Rand an hour, and this guy spent the first half an hour listening to me and the second half an hour repeating to exactly what I'd said, as if you'd think I'd forgotten what I'd said, So I was really desperate. I eventually got a hold of a support group, a bipolar support group, and I was very excited to hear the guy on the other side of the phone going, you really need to come and see us, you really need to come and speak to us. And I was like, fantastic, when can I come? And I'll be there in half an hour, my boss won't have a problem, I'll be there now. And this guy turns around and says to me, I'll see you in 3 weeks because we only have a monthly meeting. Now that to me is completely unacceptable, and it kind of planted the seed for what has now turned out to be bipolar. But going back to my wife's prayer, I started weaning myself off this medication involuntarily because of lack of money to buy the medication. And eventually, after a couple of weeks, my wife said to me, Richard, you're not on any more medication. And then you kind of hit a little bit of a panic, and you're like, oh my God, I've got no more medication. And then I actually started realizing, there's something profound has really happened here. And she told me about her prayer, asking God to give me a miracle in my life and to heal me. And I can very happily say that it's been 2 years. I haven't had a bipolar episode in 2 years. Thank you to my wife's prayer. The biggest thing though is, not wanting to wait around for a miracle. You have a lot of people that would say, oh, well, I'm just going to pray to God and I'm going to go off my medication. Please don't do that. It's not as easy as that. I believe I have been given a gift, and this is a gift that I need to share with everybody that has bipolar, be it a sufferer or a supporter of someone with bipolar. Now, the idea to create an awareness around it. Bipolar has been a condition that everybody shrugs off, and everybody goes, oh, well, they just got the dementia, they're just mad, don't worry about it. Or a parent will go, oh, my child's just rebellious. Nobody really wants to face those facts. and it's really just coming out more and more and more. Almost every single person that I've spoke to putting together this event has in some way or another a link directly to someone with bipolar, which is, it's confirmation above and beyond confirmation. Just really cementing that this little journey that I'm going on is something that is true. Now, you know, for me to have carried on with BraaiPolar, I had a choice to make. And I was sitting in the garden 4 o'clock the one morning. My wife came out and said, you know, Richard, what's going on? Why are you sitting out here? And I just said, you know, Candace, this is really hard, but I can't do BraaiPolar, the event, and work at the same time. And I was really torn because, you know, this event is something that is massive. It is the most profound thing I think I'll ever do in my life. And creating this awareness for bipolar, for people struggling with bipolar. You know, when they have these little support groups, they go and hide away in a corner as though they're lepers, you know, as some dirty secret. You'd much rather go and sit inside Narcotics Anonymous with a heroin addict than you'd go to a bipolar meeting, which is really, really sad. You know, no father should ever not have to look his son in the eye or be ashamed of his son, like mine was of me, thinking he's just naughty, he's just rebellious, when in fact it was just a major problem. You know, no child should have to feel so alone that they run away from home, from the people that love them, because they don't know how to deal with their emotions. And by creating this awareness, by standing on a stage for 4 days, triggering every trigger that is dangerous to me, lack of sleep, stress, anxiety, just to prove a point, I really hope that it hits home with somebody. I really hope you get this message, that bipolar isn't something that you need to hide away from. You will be fine. You need that awareness though. You need the support from your family. You need the support from your loved ones. And when you have that infrastructure in place, you can get better. You can heal. You know, we're normal people, and this isn't something that we asked for. It's not something that we deserve. It's unfortunately just a condition like any other, like stuttering, blindness, deafness. It's just a condition. You can't catch it. If I sneeze, if I shake your hand, you can't catch it. But you don't have to live with it. We do. And the more people that are made aware of what bipolar is all about, the more people that will be able to help other people. You know, when we came up with the idea to do a Guinness World Record, it's something massive. It's something that people will stand up and take notice and go, wow, check what he's doing. It's a platform, literally a stage, but it's a platform to be able to tell people about my life, to be able to tell people about the struggle that I've gone through my entire life. I'm 42 years old. My life only really began at 41. I'm turning 43 this year, so there's the math for you. The last 2 years I felt normal. I've been able to love back. I've been able to give back. I've been able to find some sort of stability and normality, and that really is very important. So I hope this gives you a few answers. I hope you can understand what it's like to be living with bipolar. And every night from now, we've got 9 days left, I'm going to be doing a bipolar diary. So I'm going to tell you about my day, I'm going to tell you about my emotions, just so that you can get a little bit of an insight into what it is like to live life with bipolar. Not being on any medication, I've learned to control my bipolar. I've learned that if I start feeling anxious in any way, I speak to my wife, I take a walk, I just go find some quiet time. So we really just want to give you a little bit of insight into that. And stay tuned. The event is in 9 days' time. You're going to be seeing 4 days of non-stop Braai action at BraaiPolar to create awareness for bipolar.